Hello everybody and welcome to what is going to be the third and final race for the events here at Road Atlanta for rounds 13, 14 and 15 of the season 1 of the BSR Carrera Cup here on iRacing.com. Scott Woodwis, Marcus Naris and Carl Young back once again to give you all the action and to guide you through everything that's going to be happening here at Road Atlanta. So, looking back at race number 2, it was Angela De Mella who took the victory, but of course now it means that we're going to be reversing the top 10 once again, which means that Bradley Selman not only scored his first top 10, but now has to face up to the daunting prospect that he'll start his start the third race from his first ever pole position. And Marcus, Carl, how do you think Bradley's feeling right now? I think I'm sure his feelings have turned from elation to one of probably something along the lines of, oh Christ, what am I getting myself into? Especially with the calibre of drivers he's got behind him, starting in the top 10 on the grid.
Yeah, I think certainly his mirrors won't appear big enough. Going into turn 1 is going to be very, very nervous, but the worst thing you can do in that position, believe me, is to be too cautious, because if you're too slow, they will collect you from behind, so you just need to get your head down and crack on and run your own race and see where you are after a lap or two.
I think obviously Carl's just dropped off because he did have one or two problems possibly with his microphone, so for the moment it is just myself and Marcus. Now obviously looking back at that second race, of course Tessier was up there starting on pole position, did incredibly well to hold on to the lead for roughly around half the race before De Mella did make that move down into the chicane. But it seems as though afterwards that Tessier just lost his nerve a little bit, and that's seemingly what caused him to spin up at that treacherous turn 5. And then after that, he was able just to try and recompose himself, and he just managed to hold on to second place from the likes of the guys behind him who were giving a lot of pressure, including people like Nick Tyson and Anders Dahl, etc. So obviously starting now for what would be 9th on the grid, could Tessier do anything more? He had some really good pace in that second race, so do you think that's going to shift over to race 3, or do you think it's wherever you end up in the grid, for most people, with the exception of a few drivers who have that ultimate pace, wherever you end up on the grid for race 3 is generally the area where you'll stay for the majority of the race come the lights going out?
It's difficult to say. One thing's for sure, though, he certainly will have the confidence now to know that he can tough it out with the fast guys. I mean, I was concerned that I did Alan a bit of a disservice by being surprised by how well he hung on to De Mella in the lead there. But I don't think I did. He comes into this evening's activities 24th in the championship, so he's certainly not been a front runner up until now, but certainly that race 2 would have given him a ton of confidence, and one thing's for sure, he's going to be racy. So rather than him watch out, certainly I think it's the job of the guys around him to watch out, because he's definitely going to be a guy with a point to prove.
I think we possibly have Carl back with us. Carl, can we hear you?
Hello?
There he is, we can hear you.
There he is.
Oh yeah, what a disaster.
And he does appear to have gone silent again, so obviously hopefully we'll get him back in a moment. But of course, now let's turn our attention now to the championship fight. Of course, Anders Dahl versus Ben Tusting. Anders managed to get the one-up in that race by finishing ahead of Ben Tusting in that one. Of course, now Tusting now starts again ahead of Anders. It's kind of reversed from what it was before. So how much does Ben need to take advantage of that? The fact that Anders is started behind him, and also he needs to bear in mind as well the fact that Anders can easily come through traffic. It doesn't really faze him, especially on a circuit like Road Atlanta. So how crucial is it going to be that Ben gets a good enough start to move his way up through the field and get himself to the front as quickly as possible? Because he can race. We have seen him overtake. That masterclass of overtaking and racing in Brands Hatch that we rave about constantly, always sticks fresh in our minds when it comes to the racecraft that Ben can display. But how crucial is it that he gets a good enough start in the first couple of laps to avoid being overtaken by Anders off the line?
I don't think it matters, really. Anders is doing what Anders does so well. You know, there have been a lot of wrecks in the first 2 races, and Anders hasn't been anywhere near either of them. He came through the wreck in race 2 relatively unscathed, so I think Ben's got to do 2 things. He's got to get in front of Anders, and then he's got to start throwing landmines out the window, because he needs to hope and pray that Anders Dahl has some kind of problem and can't either finish a race or finish his way down the field. Because with that race 1 result of Anders winning and Ben way down in 12th, from a championship point of view, Anders Dahl has done Ben Tusting a lot of damage tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so hard for Ben to be able to gain ground when Anders is running so well. You know, they're 2 of them are such even in competitiveness, and it's just, and we had mentioned it last week. It's just going to be so tough for Ben to gain ground in the points without Anders having some sort of issue.
Well, looking at the warm-up time so far, it's Egil Sandveld who currently has the fastest time in the warm-up session, which is now down to back to 10 minutes with a 1 minute 23.611. So we'll certainly see how that one works out for him. He's actually almost about 0.6 of a second quicker than anyone else. I mean, actually, interesting enough, Alain Tessier, who is the fastest man in the 124s, Despolino, who I'm currently looking on board with right now, is 3rd quickest, 124.339. Hasn't improved on that lap, but we are ticking down the clock towards the end of the 10-minute warm-up session. Gary Toole is up in 4th, with Angelo De Mella in 5th fastest. Stefan Hug, then Jamie Wilson, Jean-Christophe Goddard, Ricardo Schiavon and Patrice Longley are your top 10 in that warm-up session. Again, shout out to Matt Malone. If you do want to watch this race from his point of view, head over to his Twitch channel, which you can of course run parallel with this live broadcast. It's twitch.tv/Showdown1983, where he is running iRacing, of course, and does that on a daily basis, and that's me promoting off my own back, not the fact that he asked me to. Also, if you guys do want to subscribe to the channel, of course, every single race that we do is broadcast live here on YouTube, as well as the fact we do have a presence on Facebook and on Twitter as well. So if you want to search us out on both of those, then be sure to give us a follow and a like. Cars now heading up onto the grid there. So quickly before we start to go lights out, you said that all bets are off, but any possible predictions, guys, on what can happen here?
Accidents.
Short and sweet, I like it.
No, it's difficult to say. It could be. I mean, we were very clean lap 1 last race, but certainly within 2 or 3 laps again, there was a coming together. Tessier's got pace though, so I'm really going to watch out for him. I'm going to spectate him from the start and see where we end up.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens. You know, these races always have such different storylines, and all 3 of them. It'll be fun to watch.
Well, round 15 of the BSR Carrera Cup at Road Atlanta. Revs rise, ready for the green. Lights are out now, and we are racing. Decent enough start, looks like for Bradley Smith, but a better start from Community, who literally pulls alongside and is going to win the drag race down towards the first corner, and it is going to be Community who leads. Despolino looking to the outside for 2nd place. Looks as though he might just have it. Selmas is going to bit back on the power, a little bit of a twitch, and they're going to run side by side towards turn 2, and I think Despolino has his nose in front. Yes, he does. So the GT Italia guys have managed to get themselves into 1st and 2nd place off the line.
Yep, coming away there, Nick Tyson got run wide onto the grass, just going up into, I think it was turn 3. And there's contact in the S's. Not sure who it was. It's one of the GT.
It's Longley, Patrice Longley.
Yeah, it looks like he got hit by Angelo De Mella, and De Mella's very slow. Cars streaming past him now, so not quite sure what happened there, but they certainly came together.
Yeah, that's tough for a guy sitting there, going to go wide there, and then that incident there with De Mella, who had such a successful race number 2, unfortunately not going to happen here again in race number 3. But he's got 2 of his teammates out in front there. Looks like Comuni and the 10 machine of Despolino are the top 2 as they work their way down this backstretch heading into turn 10.
And what's incredible is that poor Bradley Selmas is being swamped by actually both of the championship contenders. Anders Dahl with a superb start, already in the 3rd position of 6th on the grid. Incredible start for the champion leader. As Ben Tusting also trying to get himself involved, and also I can see, I think that's Alain Tessier out there as well. Indeed it is. So Tessier from right on the grid has got himself up to, looks as though, as far as, I can look on my screen when it looks change. It's 6th, so he's up 3 spots off the start, so great job for him. Look at the top 10, they're scrapping amongst themselves, Hammer and Tom. And back into turn 2. And what's incredible, Anders Dahl was kind of already putting the foot down, saying, "See you later, guys. I'm off to chase after 2 GT Italia boys up at the front."
Yeah.
And Tusting has got through to 4th. Selva's down to 5th, but guys, with the amount of cars around him, it's only a matter of time before he starts tumbling down the rest of the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, however, the damage is done up front. Communi's where Communi needs to be. He's out front. He's got a rear gunner, and you know when he gets his head down and he gets into that almost Schumacher-esque hot lapping mode, very few people can touch him. So I think certainly this battle is for 4th to 10th in this race. We've seen in the first 2 races. If you're off in the distance this early, it's very, very difficult for anyone to catch him.
Oh, collision, sorry to interrupt you there before we go to Carlos. A collision, I think we've been a couple, in fact, of the GT Italian cars. I think one of them was Ricardo Schiavon, and the other, I think, may have even been De Mello, in fact, as well. I think De Mello was involved in that at some point. In fact, he is struggling. He's been passed left, right. In fact, he's holding on at the moment, but there's a lot of damage to the front of that GT Italia car, and he's being swamped by several cars, including Palumbo, I think, as well. He's got himself in front. So there's a bit of contact, I think, up at turns 5 and 6. So 6 and 7, I should say, sorry. And on the exit of 7, there was a bit of a crescendo effect. And De Mello's struggling. De Mello's actually pulling off into the pits. So in fact, I think that's his race over. So Angelo De Mello doesn't even complete 2 laps, and he is already out of his 3rd race. And that's a real shame. It looks like possibly, I couldn't see whether or not that was an accident that he caused, whether or not he was an innocent party, but facts are the facts, and that GT Italia are down 1 car already after 2 laps.
No, I've been watching that. It looked, unfortunately, like Michael Booth went in way too late on the brakes going into 7, and he's put a move up the inside of Angelo De Mello, and he's just turned De Mello around, and as De Mello's trying to correct it, typically he's got into the side of Ricardo Schiavon, and it looks like he's given him some fairly terminal steering damage.
Yeah, I was seeing the same thing there too, Marcus. Just innocent victim there for Angelo De Mello. And again, just seen in the chat, he isn't too happy with Michael Booth. That for surely ruined his race after having such a strong race number 2 and finding his way into victory lane. Not at all what he wanted to end the night with in race number 3. As I'm going to assume with the way he exited, he may be done for the race.
Seems like it, but that's rather unfortunate. GT Italia got more problems to worry about, because even though Comuni has the lead, Nespolino has his mirrors full of Anders Dahl. We said that Comuni would have it easier when he's allowed to go up the front, but I'm not so sure, because Dahl is giving Nespolino a huge headache. In fact, that's a dangerous move to turns 3 and 4. Anders Dahl is very, very brave to try and pull that one off. But up towards turn 5, Nespolino keeps the GT Italia car in front for the moment, but Anders Dahl certainly has the ultimate pace, and he's bringing, in some ways, Ben Tusting with him, because the 064 car is starting to pull away from that huge pack of cars, now currently being led by Nick Tyson in the 14, as they head through turns 6 and 7 and onto the back straight through the very fast sweeps of 8 and 9, which aren't really corners, but they're slight curves on the circuit, and they're counted as corner numbers towards the braking zone for turns 10A and 10B. Looking in front also, Diego He does have a lap time from which he'll have to negotiate. I can't see who that possibly is. Maybe one of you guys can possibly figure out who that might be. But looking here, Dahl trying to move to the inside, down towards the chicane. And I'm not sure there was a touch. I think even there was, it may have been a slight sort of nibble away at the back bumper. Of course, all this means that Tusting's going to close in. But as we said, Marcus, Nespolino is playing that buffer role, that rear gunner role. He's playing it to perfection, because Anders Dahl, no matter where he looks, just can't get himself through. Yeah, and I've been looking at the lap times, and there's certainly something going on there from running low 124s in practice. Laps 3 and lap 4 for Nespolino have been 125s. Lap 3 was 125.1 and lap 4 was a 125.6. So he certainly appears to be playing the team game here, and as we say that up front, Comuni continues to grind out laps. That's 3 laps in a row now where he's been in the 124.1s, and you know, he's taking full advantage of what's going on behind, and he's off up the road like a schooling cat.
Man, I just watching that battle there with Anders Dahl, as you guys were talking about, that he literally put the bumper to the 10 machine of Luigi Nespolini there before they got out of that back straightaway. The left car there that you had mentioned beforehand was the 24 Nick Karen. He got out of the way of the leaders and gets out of the way of Nespolino, Dahl, and Ben Tusting. And now he's actually going to run way wide there. So now he won't be much of a issue to anybody else now. But, you know, Dahl is definitely showing that he's getting impatient and he wants that spot, you know, going up there, making some bumper contact, and at this time, Diego Cumini gained another 0.3 of a second on the field. Halfway to go now as they completed lap number 5. Time's starting to tick down, and I don't know even if Anders Dahl does get around Nespolino now, if he would have enough time to run him down.
And something's happened in 5th place, 5th and 6th. Nick Tyson was running in 5th place. He was very slow through turn 1. Incredibly slow, and it allowed Alan Tessier to get past him and up into that 5th position. Not sure what happened there. I don't know if he ran wide and got a slowdown penalty, but he was incredibly slow, and Tessier just blasted past him. And now he's got Jamie Wilson, Nigel Stanfield, and James Yates parked up behind him, all ready to pounce.
Speaking of parking behind him, Anders Dahl is once again on that rear bumper of the 10 of Nespolino. And I wonder how much toe he's going to get down the back straight here through the sweeps of 8 and 9, which I said aren't really corners, but they're going to be marked as well on the road. And here he comes. Dahl's going to try an outside pass. It's going to be definitely a bold one if he can pull it off. And in straight line speed, Dahl's got his nose in front before he even gets to the braking zone. Look at that, incredible stuff from Dahl. Sweeps across the front. Thank you very much, Luigi. I will take 2nd place if you don't mind. Just about gets it stopped. So I think there's another lap the car's going to cross. And already Dahl's going very defensive already. And Nespolino comes back at him on the exit. But Anders Dahl gives Luigi a bit of a taste of his own medicine, and of course now Luigi has himself in a bit of a catch-22 situation, because he's now got to try and keep one eye on closing on Anders Dahl, but the other on looking in his rearview mirror, because Ben Tusting all the while has been slowly but steadily just clawing back the gap between these two, and he's now finding himself in 4th place with a real chance of grabbing a podium here if he can play his cards right. Just behind, and it's in Tessin of it's 4 cars in fact. It's Tyson, Sandfeld, Wilson and Yates are all snapping at his heels to try and snatch 5th place away from him, and that sequence of cars is certainly going to change itself around if something happens. But what's quite incredible, Sandfeld's having to get very defensive on Jamie Wilson just behind in the 87, make their way through turns 6 and 7 and onto the back straight once again as they make the run towards the far chicane. But now
Tusting's looking to put a move on Nespolino coming down the back straight. He's pulled out early, but he's been balked by traffic, so I don't know if he's going to be able to continue the run around the outside like Anders Dahl did. No, he tucks in behind Nespolino going into 10A and 10B at this chicane. Decides that it's not worth sticking his nose up the inside there, and he'll live to fight another day.
Oh, and Tyson went across the grass on the exit underneath the bridge. Now, I don't know what went on there, because he's actually allowed Sandfeld through, and now he's got Jamie Wilson giving a lot of headaches up down the front straight. He's going to make his way to the inside to try and make the pass on Tyson. In fact, he gets the job done, and through he goes up into, I think it must be 7th position. And James Yates is immediately putting the pressure onto Tyson himself. So Tyson's had a bit of a rocky few corners to the end of that lap, as we head on to lap 8 with 3 laps to go. I'm not sure if you guys saw what happened there, but Tyson's certainly not running at the same pace he was in the past couple of races, and is in some ways slowly marched towards the back of the top 10.
No, he's definitely having problems. I think laps 5 and 6 he's not officially logged a lap time, so I think he may have got a slowdown penalty or some other problem, but he's certainly not enjoying that car in this race 3, and he seems consistently to be very slow through that last turn.
Yeah, he's definitely struggling behind the wheel of that number 14 machine, making some mistakes. I've been seeing that a lot with a lot of these guys. It looks like this track is really starting to take a toll on them. We've seen quite a few guys, get off track and touching the grass and slipping and sliding around. And now Tyson under attack again from Jamie Wilson. Wilson's going to be able to take the spot. 7-car James Yates tried to do it on that second turn, couldn't get it done. But again, another spot lost for Nick Tyson as he drops down to 8th place here with 2 laps to go.
Intriguing is that Anders Dahl is closing the gap, but of course not by much, and that rear gunner work that Nespolino did on Dahl certainly has worked wonders for GT Italia and Comuni in particular, because Dahl is lapping incredibly quickly. His last lap time was a phenomenal 1:23.8 compared to Community's fastest lap time, which if I can get it on my screen, if my screen decides to respond, is 1:24.2. So he's some 4/10 quicker than Community up in front. So more lap traffic for Community to try and deal with up in the lead. But at this point, Dahl is closing, but just not by much. The back marker decides to just eject himself from the race and exit stage left across the grass.
Nespolino's got back in front of Dahl. I didn't see when that happened. I don't know if I've missed something, guys, but I'm showing on the road that Luigi Nespolino's running in second place now, and Anders Dahl is tucked right up below his rear wing again. So something's happened out there, and Nespolino's back in second place.
It's in second place to me. I'm not sure if you've got any. I'm not sure what's going on there, but Dahl is still showing a second on my screen, and also I'm looking behind. I can see that is that Tessier? It's Sandfeld. Sandfeld's flying. Sandfeld just surprised me just out of nowhere, just in the background. Tessier has come under attack from Sandfeld, who is absolutely flying along in what's now fifth position.
Yep, absolutely.
Last lap.
Completely misidentified the cars there. It was it was Ben Tusting in the FT9 Craft car that I was confusing for Dahl in the RS and Denmark car. Easy mistake to make because they look so similar, with one being red and one being blue.
Very true indeed. Sandfeld then has got himself back into the top 5. Now whether or not his pace is enough to try and close in on this last lap on either of Nespolino or Tustin. Tustin took a lot of curve through turn 5 to try and close that little bit more on Nespolino as they head their way down towards... Oh, and I think Tyson's gone off in the background. I think Nick Tyson's gone off at turn 5. I saw a white car go off, and let's see if that's correct. If again, my screen watches, well, it was Tyson.
He's clouted the wall as well. It looks like he's picked up some damage.
Yeah, seen that as well. Turn 5 again. Turn 5 again, just hit the gas a little too soon, slid and made contact with that inside wall.
And along the back straight, here we go. Tusting again on Nespolino, coming down in towards the chicane. Nespolino's holding that inside line. He's done that pretty much all race. It will seem like to him defended that inside line into that chicane, but Tusting has to hold his place.
Community wins race 3. Dahl closed into 1.2 seconds at the end. Nespolino does all he can, and his job is a job well done for GT Italia. Third place, just ahead of Ben Tusting. Sandfeld takes out the top 5 after a loss on Alain Tessier for 5th, and with the Frenchman, I think he's French, Hamilton for 6th. Wilson 7th, James Yates 8th. Bradley Selmas starting from pole gets another top 10 in 9th, and Nick Tyson, with all his troubles in race 3, has to settle for 10th. Robert De Roy 11th. Michael Booth again having some tough times here at Road Atlanta in 12th. Adam Powell finishing in 13th spot, with Matt Malone in 14th place in the 703 car. Then Ricardo Skierb on 15th, with Reznicek in 16th. And Thurston, Daniel Hunt, Cyril Thomas and Stefan Hugg with a rather poor showing in this third race, rounding out the top 20. And it was exactly as it was back in race 3 in Road America last week, guys. If you give Diego Comini an inch, he will take a mile, because he absolutely just got himself off the line ahead of Selmas as he needed to, and just went from there. And despite the best efforts of Dahl, who did an incredibly grand job to close in the gap as much as he did, just wasn't enough in the end.
Yeah, it was the team racing that did the damage there. It was absolutely the work that Nespolino did in what was then second place that allowed the community to build enough of a lead. Towards the end there, Anders Dahl was running, certainly on that last lap, he took almost a second out of Community, so he certainly had the pace, but he just ran out of laps given the gap that Community was able to build in those early laps when Dahl was stuck behind his teammate Nespolino.
Yeah, he made an absolutely incredible pace to try to run down Community and just ran out of time. Had he gotten around Nespolino sooner, there's not a doubt in my mind that he would have been able to contend and take the lead away, and may have won 2 races tonight here at Road Atlanta. But either way, even though he wasn't able to do it, I think he definitely gets the our driver of the war tonight for tonight. Race 1 had a strong going in race 2, and then just comes up short here in race 3. He's definitely proving why he's a points leader.
So victories to Dahl in race 1, Demella in race 2, and Community in race 3. That just about wraps up our action for here at Road Atlanta. It's not the end of the action this week, of course, for BSR here at the wonderful Road Atlanta, because of course we do have the main event of our BSR Championship. The iRacing BTCC makes its appearance on this circuit tomorrow evening. Races will be at the same time as it has been for tonight, so it'll be 10 to 9 for the first race, 9:30 for the second, and about 10 past 10 for race number 3. Next time you'll see the Carreras will be in a week's time at the Glen, as in Watkins Glen on the International Classic Boot layout. That'll be next week on March the 12th, same time as usual, and hopefully it should be 3 more intriguing races as it has been in this evening's races. Marcus, Kyle, thank you very much for joining me. Hope you've enjoyed the racing. Final thoughts?
I'm going to buy me some glasses and you guys some new PCs.
As long as it's a good one.
That sounds like a wonderful plan to me, Marcus.
Wonderful indeed. And whilst we get to that one, we thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned, of course, again tomorrow for the iRacing BTCC, and we'll see you guys next week at Watkins Glen. But for myself, Scott Woodwis, Marcus Naris, Carl Young, and our cameraman Steve Richardson, we say thank you very much for watching. Take care, and bye for now.